I never ever would have imagined or chosen telling people that you shouldn't eat certain foods because they're toxic. I mean, that is so not me. So much of your nervous system and immune system live in the gut. And people are now seeing that their lifetime of being on antidepressants was just because no one told them about oxalates. Many of us can come into life as a fetus and a newborn with oxalate in our system already. They don't even know this is going on in medicine and science, so they haven't studied it. But the truth is, you don't want to have a chronic illness of crystals in your bone marrow and in your thyroid gland and your brain, especially if you're committed to carnivore. We see this about 2.5 to 3 years into this clearing process. We get into this deeper, scarier, kind of even more toxic, more challenging work. So no probiotic was going to save you from this situation.
Before we get started, I'm excited to share that Sally K. Norton will be a guest speaker in my community, the Steak and Butter Gang. She'll be visiting in July to personally answer all the questions from my 90-day challenge members. Obviously, aside from the $2,000 in cash prizes each month and weekly giveaways, you'll receive 24/7 support from my all-star carnivore team. You'll get access to every carnivore recipe you can imagine, daily meetings to keep you guys motivated and on track with your health goals, and the exclusive opportunity to ask questions to incredible experts like Sally K. Norton, Dr. Boz, Dr. Chafee, Dr. Kiltz, Dr. Baker, Dr. Elizabeth Bright, literally all the experts that you guys already learn from and watch on your devices, I bring into my community to answer your questions live. We always switch it up to bring your favorite guests directly to your screen. So if you're looking for a comprehensive one-stop shop for everything carnivore, this is your chance to transform your health, your body, and your mind and connect with a supportive community that genuinely cares about you. So to join us, just go to the URL shown on the screen, sbgmeetup.com, or check out the link in the description box. I can't wait to see you in there. For all of the new viewers, we've got new carnivores, ex-vegans coming into this channel every single day. Do introduce yourself to the crowd.
Well, I'm an old health geek from way back. I tried to eat healthy since I was in kindergarten and went to Cornell for nutrition and did all the right things, and it ruined my health. And I've been crippled, I've been in wheelchairs, I had to drop out of Cornell for 4 years. 30 years I couldn't even stand on my feet without shoes or do exercise or dancing. I had arthritis, I've had all kinds of fatigue and tons of issues. I needed a hysterectomy and everything ripped out, and I was not sleeping, and I didn't know it. I was so tired. I didn't know that my brain was waking up 29 times every hour. I needed a sleep test to tell me that. I was just gone.
Yeah.
So it's ruined every aspect of my life. Who I married, where I live, what I do for work, what my degree is. Eating healthy did that to me.
Oh my gosh. And because of you, I realized that the vegan diet also ruined my health, specifically the oxalates. And people who come to me, specifically ex-vegans and vegetarians, they're like, why am I having these negative symptoms after going carnivore? I always tell them to go to you. SK Norton, YouTube channel link down below. I want you to explain why I had crystals coming out of my eyes. What does that mean?
Oh man, crystals out of your eyes. Oxalate is this acid that's in the spinach and the nuts and the peanuts and the potatoes, like random standard stuff. Even Pringles have this oxalate in it. But then it's also the Swiss chard and the spinach and the almonds. And then people go to these low carb diets and the gluten-free diets and they eat more of that stuff. So it ends up collecting in your tissues. And weirdly enough, it gets in the brain. Even though there's like this blood-brain barrier and everything, it gets in the brain. To me, the crystals out of the eyes is not just the eye tissue that can cause macular degeneration, cataracts, because it causes chronic inflammatory stress. It causes oxidative stress in the eye, and it can end up being cataracts, vision changes. The reason I'm in glasses is from my oxalates. So in 10th grade, I needed distance correction, and then by 20, when I was trying to renew my driver's license and failed, I needed a major strength increase plus reading correction. So I've been in progressive lenses, bifocals, forever. I'm 61 now. So that really gets in the eyes. It's interesting in the literature. It seems like oxalate getting in your eyes is as common as getting in your kidneys.
Wow.
And your thyroid gland, majorly, and other tissues too, but the top ones are eyes, thyroid, bones, bone marrow, and kidneys. I think I forgot to mention thyroid in our talk today. The crystals means your tissues are healing and actually pushing the stuff out.
Right.
So, because all those years we were eating like potatoes or spinach, we were collecting it and you don't know what's happening. And then it starts coming out, and hopefully it can come out without hurting you in any way. Usually people, they go through these little times where they don't feel so good and stuff shows up, and then they feel really great after. So hopefully you can cycle in it briefly, then feel better, and it might come back around, and you need to kind of recognize it because it shows up a little weirdly, your mood gets weird.
For me, I was able to push through it, but what about the people who aren't able to just push through it? What is your protocol?
Pushing through it is not a good idea because it ends up being too much all the time, and it's really toxic and stressful, and you're using your immune system in a bad way, and it's overworking, and it's becoming like this deranged Hermesian devil is like going bananas because you've got gunk in your tissues, and it just sometimes can't shut off. And sometimes it's the stress, and being post-vegan, you might have a harder time at shutting it off. Your cell memories are all made of fats plus proteins embedded in there. The proteins do all this enzymatic work of metabolism and tells you that you need insulin or you need this or that. The body takes these little clips of materials from the cell membrane to turn off the inflammation. So if your body's a little deficient in the right fats or having other stress, it might have a hard time turning off. So we got to calm this down and get this kind of upset immune system relaxing a little bit, taking little vacations, little dinner breaks, little weekends off. We sometimes have to add back in tea or beet juice or some other thing that has the oxalate in smaller amounts as a medication. So we can medicate this unhappy body and help it to soothe down, and you can sleep better, your mood gets better, and you're not damaging your vascular system or your kidneys.
Top healthy foods that are actually deadly.
Spinach, chard, and beet greens, almonds, cashews, nuts, potatoes, turmeric, blackberries, kiwis, figs, quinoa, bran, the beans. The cassava, the plantain.
What about spices?
Yeah. Weirdly, spices can be a real issue. It's surprising. You've got to watch like the strongly spiced stuff with cumin and turmeric for sure. So the Indian and some of the African spices can be so too much. It's really interesting. I had a really good friend of mine teach her like what vegetables to eat. That helped her a lot. And she called me in a month. She said, "My God, I'm no longer an addict. For 50 years, or 70. She was in her 70s. I've been an addict and I don't feel it." But she needed to get rid of those spices to really go all the way. And when she took the spices down, because she loved her Ethiopian and things like that, she got so much better. All of us are probably in some degree of trouble, maybe silent trouble with the oxalates, and all of us at some level have a little bit of an overload, like the eyes, the brain, the bone marrow, the thyroid, and the kidneys, and so there's a need to recover from that. And that arc of recovery isn't 3 months. It's probably a decade. Which just makes sense, because you're not going to just make new bones in 3 weeks. How are you going to make a new thyroid gland in 3 weeks? That isn't happening.
Impossible.
So you got to give your body a chance to kind of make yourself new again, but it does it one cell at a time.
I love that.
What are the most shocking foods on that list to you?
Well, to me, the most shocking one is potatoes and sweet potatoes, because science didn't even know potatoes were high until like 50 years ago. And we're giving potatoes to little children as like tater tots and little French fries. It's like fun to give finger food potatoes. And then it's like offered at lunch, breakfast, and dinner. Would you like fries or chips with that? Every box lunch has a chip bag in it. Like, they're everywhere. And ubiquitous because they're cheap, they're really profitable. We think of oxalates as spinach, and the doctors are like, "Oh, you shouldn't go on the low oxalate diet because all those greens, you can't have any greens." Well, the truth is there's only 3 greens. The ones we call the dark leafy critical greens, they're the bad ones. Just 3, not really the kale. It's not kale. Everyone says kale and spinach. It's spinach, chard, and beet greens. Those are the dark leafy greens that are bad. And then, of course, rhubarb is just as bad. And that's like some weird toy food, but some people get into it. And then peanut butter and nuts, like right now, they're super popular. When peanut butter has been condemned for mold and other things in the past, but it's become really a health food. So the thing is, we're expecting the dark leafy greens in public health. We use this as a major prevention message. And when I reach out to my colleagues in public health and say, I think we should talk about the research, which suggests some of our key prevention messages are not really on target with the goal we intend. The recommendation for dark leafy greens as a daily safe food really should be under the microscope and be questioned. But my colleagues aren't open to that, of course. So that's shocking, that the ones we promote are so key. Turmeric, vitamin C turns into oxalate in the body. We've been pushing vitamin C in public health like crazy ever since COVID. And it's been in the culture since I was a little girl. My grandmother had a bottle of 1,000 milligram chewable vitamin C tablets when I was a kid at age like 5. I am 61 years old. It's been a long time that we've been over pushing vitamin C. And now since COVID in these last 5 years, it's like it's cool to overdo it. So it's pretty shocking that we're pushing dark leafy greens, potatoes everywhere, peanut butter for children, and vitamin C everywhere. And now we have this whole, we'll go dairy free, get rid of the calcium that's protecting you. That's a problem because that basically is going to double your exposure to oxalate and really cause you to absorb more of it from foods because you don't have as much calcium in the diet because our water isn't very rich with calcium anymore because it's recirculated toilet water in the public water. It doesn't have as much calcium, and we try to minimize calcium because it wrecks your pipes. But in the day of spring water and well water, you've got a lot of your calcium came from water. But that's not the case anymore. So that's a little dietary mistake.
When you're on a carnivore diet like me, it's all about nourishing yourself with quality and keeping things super simple. Optimizing your food can be as simple as swapping lean meats for fattier ones. But what about your water? For those of you just getting started on a low carb or carnivore diet, salting your water with a high quality salt or electrolyte supplement is a must. But what about those of you who have been carnivore for years like me and still are looking for a way to optimize hydration? I want to introduce something that's totally transformed my approach to everyday water. It's this beautiful machine shown on the screen right now, and it's actually a reverse osmosis water purifying system made by the brand Cove Pure. I've been drinking 100% of my water from this, and there's two major reasons why I'll never go back to drinking tap or bottled water ever again. Over 1.1 million Americans get sick from tap water every year, and I somehow thought I was the exception because, well, I'm carnivore, but I checked my zip code on EWG's tap water database, and I found 17 contaminants just in my area's tap water. So every time I get thirsty, make egg drop soup, or boil up poached eggs, I have 17 contaminants going into my body. That's why Cove Pure's Clear Wave technology is a game changer, removing thousands of harmful contaminants like lead, arsenic, forever chemicals, and bacteria that are up to 250,000 times smaller than a speck of dust. So that's really small. The second reason I love this water purifier so much is because of how easy and foolproof it is. I mean, seriously, all you have to do is plug it in, fill in the water tank in the back, and you are good to go. No drilling, no install costs, just put it on the countertop where it looks beautiful, by the way, and enjoy taking every sip with peace of mind. With the press of a button, you can instantly get access to cold room temperature or hot water that is literally cleaner than anything you can find in Whole Foods. So if you're interested in some seriously high quality water, you can visit covepure.com/steakandbuttergal to get $200 off your water purifying system. I'll make sure to link them down below. Now, let's get back to the video.
And then we have this gluten-free, and gluten-free is like nut flour now. And of course, with the low dairy, you're doing almond milk, which is a really toxic form of oxalates because you've basically put it on steroids by dissolving in a lot of water. The more dilute it is in a water solution, the more of it gets into your body versus the concentrated almond flour is percentage-wise, you're not going to absorb as much, but in the almond milk, it's like, it might as well be an injection. Put it right there in your bloodstream. So then now we're going to go, okay, dairy-free, almond milk. Now let's add almond flour because you're going to go gluten-free. And you're also going to do like pseudo grains like quinoa, buckwheat, teff, arrowroot, cassava flour. These are all high oxalates. So then you get your cassava chips and you're gluten-free and you're dairy-free and you're doing your smoothies and you are poisoning yourself.
Sally, if you can just share some benefits that might happen and that most people can start seeing and feeling when they take action today as they start lowering oxalates, what type of benefits could they start seeing?
Oh, it's so exciting. You don't have to watch your spinach rot in your refrigerator. This is really cool. You just don't buy it. So, like you stop watching things rot in your refrigerator. That's fun. And you sleep better right away. You can tell within a few days, man, I'm feeling more ambitious in life and I can get this pile of junk mail off my counter and you're like your brain is working. You want to go play more and it might make you happier. And hey, your elbow pain is gone and that'd be cool. And now you can hike further because your tendonitis in your foot or whatever's going on is better. So your life could get more fun. You could be more rested. Your mood could improve. You could stop waking up to pee all night. You could stop having to stop on your way to taking your kid to soccer practice to pee because your poor bladder can't handle all this oxalate.
Oh, and talk about the mental health or the mental benefits as well.
Oh, it's really surprising to me. People came to me and said, I'm depressed because of oxalates. I'm like, I don't think so. Really? They had to talk me into this one. And it turns out that it's so neurotoxic. So nerves are very sensitive cells and the brain is just a bunch of nerves, right? Very sensitive to something that steals its electricity because it messes up its calcium and potassium and sodium and all this. And if it can't control calcium, it can't function as a neuron. And that's true for all cells, by the way. All cells need complete control over little calcium ions, which is the regulator and the communicator that manages cell metabolism. Everything the cell does is mediated through this information that a little ion of calcium tells the cell what to do. The endoplasmic reticulum stores that calcium, sends out little blips to send over to the mitochondria and to the cell membranes, and tells everybody, okay, this is what we're doing next. We're going to make more power so we can make some insulin over here. And we're going to do that. You're breaking all of that when you have oxalate there, and nerves are really sensitive to that. And you create this oxidative stress because it can't make enough glutathione to manage this damage to the system, and you get browning out in the energy, and now you can't maintain your cells, and then your myelin sheaths are breaking down, and it's bad news. So neuroinflammation is what makes us apathetic, grumpy, irritable, anxious, and depressed. And people are now seeing that their lifetime of being on antidepressants was just because no one told them about oxalate. Anxiety goes away left and right. A huge number of people, like a lifetime of severe anxiety. Autistic tendencies go down. Kids with an inability to take care of themselves start doing self-care behaviors. It's amazing what's going on with the brain. So mood, ability to think well, remember well, all kinds of brain functions. So there's also this like eye-hand coordination, like that is neurological in nature. If you can throw a ball straight or not bump into the door frame or not drop your glass on the floor, that's eye-hand coordination, and that can come and go with this neurotoxicity. So it's not just mood, it's all things neurological, which includes these nerves that have trouble not stopping, and they're like this, and that causes muscle knots and spasms like hiccups and reflux and diarrhea and constipation and bloating and like just all kinds of weird stuff that comes out of this neurotoxicity. Mood, of course, being most important, because if you don't have your brains and your own sense of joy and well-being, what do you have in life?
Those of us who are already carnivore and on a low carb diet, is it really possible to fully reverse years of oxalate buildup? And if so, how long does it typically take?
Yeah, this is a question everybody would like to know. Like if you've got oxalate deposits in your thyroid gland, and your bones, and your bone marrow, and your tendons, and your back, and your brain, this is not an easy thing for the body to reverse. It's really quite tricky. And the body has ways of holding on to things that it doesn't like a tattoo, right? So did you know how the body holds on to a tattoo? It's fascinating. You would think it would just grow out, right? Why doesn't a tattoo grow out and wear out in 5 or 10 years, right? Why can't the body get rid of it? Sometimes the body's stuck holding toxins like tattoo ink. And the way it does it with tattoo ink is each little micro droplet is housed in an immune cell that's eating it and holding on to it to protect the local cells from damage from that toxic ink. And every time the cell dies, a new cell comes and holds it. So sometimes the body does use sequestration and holding to manage toxins. And oxalate, it doesn't like to hold on to it if it can help it. It tries hard to get rid of it, and that's what sometimes a gout attack can be. The immune cells come into the joint space and try to attack that crystal, which can be oxalates. There's many crystals that cause gout, but we just think of uric acid as gout. When uric acid is actually an acid that helps dissolve oxalates. So you might have uric acid crystals behind the oxalates as part of removing the oxalates, and what's left is yet another less evil problem that still can cause immune reactions, where you suddenly get immune inflammation, heat and swelling and difficulty in a joint, and then suddenly you can't use that joint for 3 days, 14 days, some amount of time, and then the body goes, you know what, this kind of didn't work that well, or we're kind of done, so we'll stop, and then itself turns off. And that power to turn off the inflammation is so critical to health, because if the body stayed in that inflamed, I'm going to attack that crystal forever mode, even if it's like frustrated and can't do it, it's going to keep fighting. That's the root of our demise. Like you cannot have constant inflammation. And so the problem with releasing oxalate from tissues is it requires that inflammation, and you don't want to be in this constantly inflamed space. So a body that's really healthy and has enough nutrients to even attempt the clearing, which I think sometimes it's delayed, that you don't have quite the cellular energy or other things the body's needing, whatever that may be, to literally do that work. And when it finally feels okay to do that work, which might be when the kidneys are happier because they've now cleaned out and the exit routes are cleaned out, maybe there's more encouragement, like, okay, the exit routes are open, we can do this deeper work. And we see this about 2.5 to 3 years into this clearing process. We get into this deeper, scarier, kind of even more toxic, more challenging work, chronic illness kind of situation that we need to manage, and not push. We don't want to push to some fantasy end, like there's an empty point. We don't even know that. Nobody's studying this because you know what? Science thinks you only have oxalate buildup if you have renal failure. They don't even know this is going on in medicine and science. So they haven't studied it. So who am I to make up the answer about when it's going to be done? I'm still working on the damage in my spine and neck, and I'm in year 12. It's going to take a while if there's a bottom point. We don't know. And how it works out in each individual person is a little bit idiosyncratic and individual. But the truth is, you don't want to have a chronic illness of crystals in your bone marrow and in your thyroid gland and your brain. You just don't want that. But we're doing that because we're feeding children potatoes, peanuts, and chocolate right from the start. In fact, they're encouraging peanut butter in babies, like for this peanut allergy thing. Many of us can come into life as a fetus and a newborn with oxalate in our system already.
So I'd love to share with my 6 years of being a vegan, and I was eating high oxalate foods, sweet potatoes, lots of kale and spinach. I felt like my oxalate dumping visually, the crystals coming out of my eyes went away at around year 3 to 4. So 6 years of vegan for me personally took about 3 to 4 years to fully clear out that gunk from my eyes. I just find it so fascinating to hear that you're still healing, Sally, after 12 years for your spine. Why do you think it's taking your spine healing so long? Does it collect and stay in the spine particularly?
Oxalic acid's favorite partner in life is calcium, right? It forms calcium oxalate crystals. What is the predominant place where calcium lives in your body? So the bone tissue and the bone marrow is pretty much the biggest storage space for oxalate, and then tendons as well. So you're going to have it there longer. There's a huge amount of tissue. I don't know if you've looked at a skeleton, but the size of your lumbar vertebrae are quite large. It's a lot of bony tissue there that takes a lot of stress. My spine had cracks in those vertebral bodies, like diagonal cracks through them, on and off in different x-rays over the years. No one knew why or how old they were, but I have pits and holes in the vertebral bodies, and those I think are healing. They don't do MRIs and x-rays every day, but there's still some inflammation because you're bringing in the immune system to deal with the healing and the crystals, and the continued inflammation can continue to cause additional destruction of tissues. It's like running a war. So when you bomb a region to kill the bad guys, you also kill all the churches, the streets, the water, the people, the children. Like, there's a lot of side effects to it in a war. A war on crystals cannot always be pretty. It's not this precise thing. The body does try to do natural anesthetic and turns on certain chemicals when you first get an injury. And sometimes when you first have surgery or an injury, you don't feel it. And it's later on, with this kind of more deeper healing and maintenance, you feel lousy later. Undoing this inflammation is difficult since inflammation is part of the solution. So I like prevention. Let me just be the roadkill example of don't be me.
Now, are there any chronic illnesses you think people are totally misinformed about where oxalates might actually be the real root cause?
Probably most of them. Give me a chronic illness: mental health, anxiety, mood problems, aches and pains, arthritis, thyroid issues, cancer, heart disease, stroke, infertility, osteoporosis. Name one of them that doesn't have an oxalate component. They all do. Oxalate, the way that it destroys the basic function of cells, so interferes with energy of cells and their ability to maintain the tissues and protect themselves from making a mistake and turning into cancer cells. Oxalate can do that, and apparently does.
You mentioned vitamin C earlier in the discussion, and I was just curious, does vitamin C actually impact oxalate exposure, and is it dependent on the type of vitamin C, like ascorbic versus other types?
So what happens with vitamin C is it's a compound that just oxidizes its way into oxalate. As it gets old and tired and wears out, kind of thing, like oxidation turns it into oxalate. Oxalate is this end stage oxidative process. So vitamin C gets picked up by your cells everywhere in your brain or whatever. And when you're getting more than you need, it's sitting there as vitamin C instead of actually an active recycled compound. The body tries to recycle it and reuse it. And it breaks down into oxalate in the cells. And now you're loading up your tissues with oxalate by taking the vitamin C. So the vitamin C itself is a precursor. They have this concept of endogenous, right? So you eat oxalic acid, that's called exogenous, or something that's coming from the outside. You're bringing in oxalic acid in your foods. Then there's endogenous, internally produced oxalate. Most of that, more than half of it probably, is just vitamin C degenerating into oxalate in the body. So is vitamin C an endogenous compound? It is not. You don't make vitamin C. It comes from your diet and supplements. That's kind of unfair calling it endogenous production, since it's really just the degeneration of something else that's exogenously being consumed. So there's a lot of confusion about that because people are dismissive of the oxalate issue until you've lived through this and you can see it in your own crystals coming out of your eyes and cloudy urine and hot urine and whatever you got, then you won't really believe it. And so people are missing the boat on pushing this vitamin C. I doubt that it makes any difference what type it is because it's just sitting there as a molecule. That's just the chemistry of it.
And I agree with you. There's a huge push for people to take vitamin C, not just since COVID, but all of it. Anytime people get sick, they're like, oh, you have to take 10 times the amount. It's like, is that really helpful?
A little bit. If you have chronic infection or if you're in the hospital with, sepsis, you need some vitamin C. And you might need an extra 100 or 200 milligrams, but mostly people are taking it in the thousands. Anything over like 250 a day, you're going to get into oxalate production.
My final question for you, Sally, is what are your best tips for clearing the detox pathways for supporting oxalate dumping?
The main route, as the body's concerned, out of the body is the kidneys. So supporting kidney health, right? So the kidneys need enough electrolytes, the right amount of water, too little, too much. Either way, you can overdo it or underdo it for the kidneys. And they need the right pH. If your urine is constantly acid, you need to do something about that. You can do it with a lemon juice, which is alkalizing because citric acid turns into bicarbonate. If the body is more in a neutral space and kidney cells can then release more citric acid, which is a part of the metabolism, like the body makes citrate as part of its metabolism and will put some in the urine. So the greatest risk factor besides eating oxalates for kidney stones is how much citric acid or citrates in your urine. So you want to control that pH. So you need to make sure you're not running acid out of your butt all the time. You need maybe some baking soda or lemon juice. Any of the citrate supplements, calcium is chalk, all these things are alkalizing. You can use Alka-Seltzer Gold, but literally just like baking soda can really help the kidneys. So the lemon juice is a known thing, but not everyone tolerates it. But that's okay because it's one of its prime functions is providing that alkalinity.
To be honest with you, the first 2 times I went through some oxalate dumping, it was pretty mild and I didn't very well respect it until this last one got my attention because it was a heck of a deal and I thought something else was going on. I didn't recognize it as oxalate dumping at first. I didn't know it could even begin to be so extreme. It started off with 3 kidney stones, knee swelled up and I couldn't walk on my left leg, and that went to my left hip, ended up with a pinched sciatic nerve for 5 months. I mean, do you want to just grin and bear it and get the oxalates out of your body and take the hit, or do you want to try to slow it down? Like where's the balance there? What would you recommend, to try to manage that when it gets that bad? Because I certainly wish I would have done something sooner before it turned into 3 months of expensive bills at the chiropractor and sciatica nerve pain,
Well, your story is the perfect example and the hard-won personal lesson. Letting this go unchecked and unmanaged is quite destructive. Like you say, it destroys your life. I mean, you can't get as much done. You're spending more time doing other things you don't want to do. You're spending money. You're suffering. This is badly managed. This is what can happen. Now, in some cases, it can be heart arrhythmias and hypertension that has you go in the emergency room routinely thinking you're having a heart attack. You could literally, this stuff can cause vasospasms in a way that can literally cause little strokes. None of that is good for you. Like, it's not good to let this inflammation run wild. I mean, did you have kidney stones prior to going carnivore?
Never had one, and I was 2.5 years in a carnivore, and all of a sudden I passed 3 in 10 days.
Right. So 2.5 years. I think the first year or so in carnivore, your kidneys are actually healing. Your kidneys and your urinary tract are doing the first tissue that's most important because the body prioritizes that detox pathway, right? It really wants to clear the exits. You can't empty a stadium with the exit doors bolted. You have to unbolt them, open them up, get those doors working. And so that, skin and sauna is helpful for some people because some people are able to get it out through the skin, which is nice. Literally, even your lungs and the mucus can bring it out. Your brain is emptying it out as crystals out of your eyes, right? Because this is the surface of your brain. Citrate is able to dissolve those crystals and help keep them from clumping. We would have wanted to be having you be doing lemons or some equivalent thing daily. If someone who can tolerate lemons, it's bedtime, when you wake up, and again a few times during the day. You got to get at least a half cup of lemon juice to prevent those kidney stones and make sure that you're taking care of that pH. So that would have been helpful. The green tea experiment is awesome. That's what you need to do is add back the green tea strong enough, triple the green tea or whatever it is you need. You figure out how much you need to see a symptom reduction. So you add back in either, green tea or black tea. Those are herb teas don't have oxalate. And there's other things people can use like beet juice is a nice kind of liquid, bioavailable, buy it in a jar, leave it in the fridge and knock it down as a medication. So you can use these foods that have oxalates as medication. And what that's doing, if you get it high enough and enough gets in the bloodstream at one time, that's a signal the body's going, oh, look, oxalate's coming back into the body from the diet. It must be summertime. We better, hey guys, quit the clearing. You got to stop working on the spine because the kidneys can't handle it and there's more oxalate coming in. There's too much in the bloodstream, so stop. So it's a small amount that just warns the body, hey, wait a minute, I could eat oxalate again. Hey, stop. The body is so smart. It hears it pretty fast. Some people will get relief within a half an hour of that
Yeah,
tea.
it took about 12 minutes. I actually timed it. I had a nerve pain that was shooting from this elbow down this middle ring finger every 4 seconds and had been for 3 weeks. And it was 12 minutes after I drank the tea that stopped for the first time.
And so that's still sitting in your stomach. Enough of it being absorbed from the stomach in order for your body to make a decision that changes the whole chemistry of the body, different cytokines sent out, shutting down an inflammatory process that was going on there. Now, people will say, oh, well, you can take bacteria and have all the oxalates you want. Bacteria live in your colon. They don't live in your stomach. They're not going to affect that oxalate that you just absorbed within 12 minutes of the green tea. So there's a lot of noise out there online and people start learning about oxalates and they start seeing people making up false facts like, oh, just take probiotics and you'll be fine. No probiotic was going to save you from this situation whatsoever. What's going to save you is now managing a toxicity that lives in your body that's causing inflammation. And so we can do that with electrolytes, calcium, potassium, and so on, and using oxalate as a medication. I wish I knew this when I was at your stage. I didn't have the support or someone teaching me this. I would occasionally buy a sweet potato knowing I should try to get some oxalates in me, and I would just watch that little puppy mold in the refrigerator. And take it. Like, especially if you're committed to carnivore, which can sometimes be presented as this one way or the highway kind of approach. And it doesn't have to be that way because ultimately it's not about an ideology. It's about your well-being. And that has to come first. We have to be able to set down the rules as laid out by someone else and listen to the ones laid out by your body because we need to become the servants of our body and listen and be humble enough to learn.
So for somebody who feels like oxalates are attacking like the tissue in their stomach lining and they're unable to have things like lemon and calcium without having terrible reactions, what would you recommend for somebody like that?
Well, we play around with testing just general reactivity, and you can play with calcium topically, literally. So you could make a calcium paste with castor oil and spread it around like on your liver and put like a hot light on that or something and just see if you can just sort of calm your system and calm your tummy and just see what calcium on the surface does. And then play around with sort of homeopathic levels of, okay, honey, I'm going to give you a little calcium, darling. And then play with the different forms of it. Maybe eggs are bothering you. So if you're using eggshell calcium, that may not be the thing for you. You may need to go to a simple supplement. Any calcium form will work. I use pyruvate. Pyruvate is a molecule that might help the gut heal a little bit. So I think for people with gut problems, calcium pyruvate supplements might be worth trying. And you would start with like a third of a capsule, maybe at bedtime or whatever. If you're trying out things that your body's been reactive to, make sure you're trying at a time when your parasympathetic nervous system is engaged. Your vagus nerve is calm and you're in a good space and you're happy. You've had enough loving, hugging, playing, laughing. That's a good time to be trying it, not in a time when your system is in a bracing kind of upset space. Right. Because so much of your nervous system and immune system live in the gut. So if you're throwing a remedy at someone in distress, they can't work with it as well. The original sort of diagnosis of oxalate poisoning from your diet from the 1840s included like everyone had a gut problem as the first thing. And then it was either neurological in nature, like you were neurotic, or it was rheumatological. You had a lot of aches and pains like the sciatica or the shoulder pain or the elbow pain. I'm just really happy that we're all coming together as a community, and really recognizing that this weird thing about oxalates, I mean, I never ever would have imagined or chosen being a spokesperson telling people that you shouldn't eat certain foods because they're toxic. I mean, that is so not me. But sometimes you have to let reality pull you in towards your development and what's meant to be. And in this way, if we really follow how destiny is shaping us and teaching us and really embrace that and be willing to change, which change, everybody around you doesn't like change. A lot of you don't have family members to support how you've changed your lifestyle. Don't worry about it, because destiny is taking you to the right place.
Obviously, everybody should have by now ordered Toxic Superfoods. Behind Sally right now is her book. I'll make sure to link it down below. But how do people work with you?
Well, I would love it if they leave reviews and help that group conversation say, this is actually a worthwhile topic to learn about. You can get it as an audiobook and let me read it to you, or get it as an ebook. Come to my website, sallyknorton.com. For people who want more detailed information, they may want to get the print-on-demand data companion. You cannot get this online. It's because it's this format with the kind of workbook style binding. Most outfits won't print that. So I can only offer that as print on demand through my website. So there's nothing else out there except all the free stuff on my website. That's mine. Don't go for scammy stuff, but please come to sallyknorton.com. You can join a Zoom group. I don't have a lot of room for new clients as much as I love working with people and learning from their stories. The Zoom group is a great place to start just connecting with other people like Todd, who's like, wait a minute, this stuff is really actually real. It helps you feel less insane and less lonely and isolated to just know there's a whole community of us bumping into this hidden problem.
Thank you for all you do for this community. And thank you for your time, Sally.
Love you guys. Thanks.
Love you.
I'm excited to share that Sally K. Norton will be a guest speaker in my community, the Steak and Butter Gang. She'll be visiting in July to personally answer all the questions from my 90-day challenge members. Obviously, aside from the $2,000 in cash prizes each month and weekly giveaways, you'll receive 24/7 support from my all-star carnivore team. You'll get access to every carnivore recipe you can imagine, daily meetings to keep you guys motivated and on track with your health goals, and the exclusive opportunity to ask questions to incredible experts like Sally K. Norton, Dr. Boz, Dr. Chafee, Dr. Kiltz, Dr. Baker, Dr. Elizabeth Bright, literally all the experts that you guys already learn from and watch on your devices. I bring into my community to answer your questions live. We always switch it up to bring your favorite guests directly to your screen. So if you're looking for a comprehensive one-stop shop for everything carnivore, this is your chance to transform your health, your body, and your mind and connect with a supportive community that genuinely cares about you. So to join us, just go to the URL shown on the screen, sbgmeetup.com, or check out the link in the description box. I can't wait to see you in there.